And welcome to another episode of Sold with Updike Pugh.
I'm Jeff Updike.
I'm Weston Pugh. Thank you much for taking time and joining us during your lunch break. We know it's hot outside. We hope we've got some really hot information for you to go along with all the ergot alerts that are going on out there right now.
I'm sure your thermostat's set to 82.
Jason, is the thermostat set to 82? I mean, it's a fun time. Fun time, some unrealistic expectations. The market's hot. Temperature hot, and let's see what else happens.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting time. I pulled information inside of Area 12, also known as East Dallas, and kind of geographically that's bound by 75 on the west, Northwest Highway 12 on the north, and kind of wraps around to the east, and then is flanked by 30. And that area in the last 24 hours has had 14 sales. And just to kind of put things into perspective, because we see so much information about how things are really just on fire, of those 14 homes, only 4 went over list price. And so it kind of speaks to how the market really is. It can be really great in some areas, and then it just kind of is at normal pace in others.
Yeah, it's funny because, Dallas has a lot of little, pocket neighborhoods, and those pocket neighborhoods behave differently, and they get busy at different times. And right now, I think there's more of those markets that are on fire than what we normally see. But, there's still some segments of the city that things aren't that hectic in anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're trying to help everybody understand and grasp the reality of what the market is actually doing. So of those 14, there was a cross section, which is really great, of both townhomes, single family homes, and the high was 1,950,000 and the low was 109. So it does show that there is a pretty good spectrum there. It's not always the case, and as we say, if there's something in your area that you're interested in, we'd love to know about that, and we can pull the data just like we did here quickly and get that over to you and start a discussion.
Absolutely can.
Yeah, so what else has been going on besides this heat in this market?
Well, today is National Fudge Day.
Did you bring fudge?
I didn't, but
I had to ask.
I know.
My mom used to make fudge all the time.
Mine did too.
I didn't think it was a country thing.
I never perfected that, though. I mean, I tried a few times. I know it's not hard. I'm just not a baker. I'm a cook. I'm not a baker. And there is a marked difference between those two things. So
baking is more like science.
it is.
So did your mom make divinity?
Yes.
Did she make it well?
Yes, she did. She made everything well.
You're lucky.
Now today she doesn't cook anymore, but when she cooked, that woman could cook.
My grandmother could always make divinity, and I think it was because she was in New Mexico and there was no humidity, and so it was just perfect. It just broke.
I was watching a TikTok video the other night that was, how I love my cooking,
TikTok.
my cooking TikToks. I was watching one the other night where there was a woman showing how to make chicken and dumplings, only they were not from scratch. And I'm sitting there watching her, and it looks like it would be a good recipe, certainly a faster recipe than scratch. But I thought my grandmother would be rolling over in her grave watching this.
If you cook that, there's no way.
Yes,
I don't know. It's interesting.
Guess what else is coming up?
Will I know this, or is this
No,
completely out?
probably not.
Okay, give.
So today is 100 days until the opening of the State Fair, Texas.
Seriously,
One
is
of
it
the
already happening?
Yes, one of the normal things in life, one of the most normalizing things in life, I think, is going to be the State Fair, Texas this year.
I agree with that. I think we are so ready, and I think we are so ready for some college football too this summer.
I agree, yeah.
Or this fall, it's going to be amazing. So, We actually had an open house that we had on Thatcher. We had that on the show last week, and we also talked about the open house. And it was a great open house. It was very interesting because it was also one of the first weekends where we didn't have torrential downpours.
Yes.
We had sunshine, and we were in the 90s. And I thought I was like, wow, that's not like 90 people standing in line waiting to get into this house. We had about 5 go through, but it was great, and we only needed 1 and got multiple offers. Really good.
Absolutely. And today we're going to talk, in our second segment, we're going to talk with Jeremy Radcliffe about helping buyers make their offer be the one the seller accepts. Because we are still in a market of multiple offers, and it is a challenge sometimes to get your offer to be the one that's accepted.
And I think that it's even in a market that's not as swift as we're in right now. I think that it also is important for us to get into the habit of good and best offers being presented. And these are some really great things that you can do and that we can help you with. So we'll be looking forward to talking with Jeremy here in just a little bit.
Good. Let's jump into our properties.
Take it away.
Okay, first one today, 5823 Orem. And this is a really great neighborhood in the kind of the low-est Greenville area. It's about 5 blocks off of Greenville Avenue. Phenomenal area in terms of being able to walk to restaurants, walk to some live music over there. You have great access into downtown, either through Ross Avenue, Live Oak, any of those streets that go right into the downtown market. And there are some really great parks out in that neighborhood as well.
Absolutely. TC Parks is just around the corner. White Rock Lake is just down the street. And if you're one of those kind of owners that when you get home on the evenings or on the weekend and don't want to drive your car, this is the neighborhood for you. If you're also one of those enthusiasts for St. Patty's Day, this is going to be a great place for you. I used to live around the corner from this, and we used to call it Epicenter Adjacent because you could get both to Lake Highland, to West Village, you could get to Knox Henderson, and then back over into Lower Greenville all really quickly. So check this one out as we begin looking through these pictures. It is an amazing. It's a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 2-car garage, and it's 2819 square feet.
And this was built in 2015, and it was one of those really cool builds. It was kind of one of the probably the earliest builds down there, because the lower you got on that in that neighborhood, the slower it was for all the builders to come in.
Yep.
But these people, I think, took a chance when they built it, and it's really paying off for them now.
Absolutely. It has really great open spaces, and it's interesting the way they're using this floating staircase as a backdrop to the dining room that also opens up with lots of glass and polished concrete throughout the downstairs.
And when you step off into the kitchen, you've got these maple cabinetry, solid surface countertops. I believe these are all quartz countertops, undermount sink, the polished nickel fixtures, stainless steel appliances. And the cabinetry in this, there's a tremendous amount of extra storage that they've done with this one.
Absolutely. And the great thing is that they use this same material on the cabinets actually into the living room. And one of the things that I liked as we walked through this house is the different textures. The textures of the brick that they used right around the kitchen island. And here you can see, as I was mentioning, the pulling of that cabinet material into the living room.
And this, I think, doesn't really give you quite the feel for how wide this living room really is. This furniture kind of takes over the picture. This room is enormous. And you've got perfect placement back behind those blue chairs for where TV, entertainment center might go. You could certainly whip it around and put it on the other wall. But the way this all flows from one room to the other, I think is just magnificent.
And here's a great example of these accordion style doors that create a wall of glass when in use, and then it goes right out into this really great open space. I did like the way that the ceiling height was a little bit higher, and also the light that they had from the windows.
And this is the downstairs bedroom. So you've got one bedroom down with all of the living space, and then your 2-car garage. But this is a huge bedroom, king size bed there, lots of natural light.
And then as you're going to see in the next picture, they actually have built-ins, and the built-ins were really great because it allows perfect space for the desk. And also, if you didn't want to have a cabinet, or with a 110 outlet, you can turn it easily into a coffee bar. This is also, as we swing around back out of that hallway, we go upstairs, The stairs are floating really good. I believe they're close to 5 or 6 inches thick on the steps. And you come up to this landing. This landing has a really great little desk space area.
So this is a great home for if you've got two people that need office spaces, because you've got this office space up on the second floor that's right off of the laundry room area. And I wanted to talk about this laundry room also. This was really cool how they kind of built in for the washers and dryers.
Actually, you took pictures of it and sent it over to Dale because you're thinking you're going to have it done.
I haven't seen it yet.
So this is going to be the first bedroom. And the great thing about this first bedroom is that it's not a skimp. We actually had to do a double take because it's so large, we thought we were in the master. Again, you've got these large glass that actually walks out onto its own private patio. And then this is the bathroom, ensuite bathroom, which is really great. The way that we knew that this was not the master is because it was a one sink vanity.
And when you flip over to the other end of the property that looks out over the backyard, again, you've got this private patio, an oversized room, and then you've got this floating vanity with the double sinks in the master with this huge walk-in closet.
Yeah, again, this space is really great. The walls are separated, so there is no sharing or common walls upstairs in the bedrooms or in the bathrooms, and it's separated by a quick catwalk.
And this outdoor space to me is just amazing because you've got a part of it that's covered there, you've got much of it that's uncovered, but you've got space for a fire pit out there if you want. You've still got this more polished space that's up closer on the decking.
And I like the fact that it's got the deck material, it's got crushed granite, and it's also got that core tin edging that creates that the green space for the Mondo, but doesn't require a ton of water, and then surrounds the really large oak tree that gives you that canopy that is so nice.
So 5823 Orem Street, it's a 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath, 2-car garage, built in 2015, a little over 2,800 square feet, is priced at $735, and that makes this about $260 a square foot.
And we want to say thank you so much to Debbie Lane for letting us feature this home. In the comments below, you'll be able to click on a link that'll take you directly to it so you can see all the great pictures that are on there, get an idea where it is on the map. And if you would like more information about this home or another one in the area, let us know, and we'll be absolutely quick and make that happen.
We will. So where are we going to next?
So let's move over to 3641 Regent Drive. This is a really great area of Dallas.
This is one of my favorite neighborhoods in the city.
Is it really?
Sparkman Club is, yeah.
It's so interesting because we actually have clients that this summer earlier wouldn't look at anything. They already lived in Sparkman Club, and they wouldn't look at anything that wasn't in Sparkman Club.
And I don't blame them. I
Yeah.
mean, this is one of the neighborhoods, and there are many neighborhoods that do this, but this is one of those that I think creates such a feeling of true neighborhood. You know, people get out and meet their neighbors. People go to the elementary school. The elementary schools have great parental involvement. And when you talk about, we're going to talk about more about the specific location in just a bit, but that when you talk about kind of 30,000 foot location, this is still a very convenient location to get into downtown, to get out to any of the northern city hubs that are coming up, and you've got great access all the way out to the airport just by Royal Lane.
And this is one of the schools or one of the homes that actually feeds into the DeGoyer Elementary. And so both DeGoyer and Withers are two highly sought after elementary schools in this area. And as Jeff was saying, it's got great access because of both Marsh, Midway, and Inwood, and also Webb Chapel that can shuttle you up to 635 and then back down. You also, on this side of town, have really great east-west, which is Forest, Royal, and Walnut Hill that can get you all the way over to the toll road or back over to 35, whichever one you need.
Yeah, and those roads go all the way from one end of the city to the other.
Yep.
And you've got 3 choices there.
Absolutely, and it is awesome because if you get out, weighs it up, and it'll tell you exactly which route to take and what to avoid.
It sure will.
So we're gonna take a look at this one. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. It is 1,762 square feet, priced at $735. And as you can see here, this is a neighborhood we loved when we turned the corner and saw this house. This is one of the really charming original homes. And in the area, you've got a lot of really great homes that are being renovated and also those homes that are really large and coming up.
Yeah, it really is. And I want to change one thing you said. This is priced at $485,000.
$485,000.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal deal for the neighborhood. You've got these really great original hardwood floors. They've got a little bit of scrape to them.
Yeah.
So you, what did somebody call it the other day?
Gently hand scraped.
Well, there was some
Softly, some funny word.
There was something else associated with it was forgiving or something
yeah,
like that
yeah,
when
yeah.
you're talking about pets. So if you've got, dogs with big nails, they're not going to be able to, you're not going to be able to see where they scratch them. They'll scratch them, but.
So you've got newer 2-pane windows throughout the house, and they've done a really great job of creating 2 different living areas, which is really great. Given the pandemic, we need more and more space, and a really fun, open living room. And as they've done a nice job with the renovation to create a little architectural interest by using that beam that kind of makes a nice L and connects the space.
And it does such a wonderful job of kind of pulling this all together. Whoever took that wall out made the right decision to do that. The kitchen is very nicely appointed, stainless steel appliances, granite countertops. I like how they've done this shelving where they've removed some of the cabinetry and done the floating shelves.
And it's a good space because it gives you a little extra countertop space, and they've done the most of it by creating a little extra coffee bar so that not everyone is funneling in towards the sink. The sink has a nice window that's above it to give you additional light, but it's a super functional kitchen. So many times we see these really great kitchens, but things are too far spread out or they don't quite connect. This is one of those ones that is a true cook's kitchen.
It is, and the island in this just works out perfectly because you've got a little seating space, you've got some additional workspace. Flexibility is really abound in this one.
Now, as we transition and go into the bedroom area, there's 2 bedrooms on the front of the house. This is the first one. They've done a great job with it. And you've got a second one, almost similar size and shape, but because this one is on the corner of the house, you get a little extra light with those 2 windows that are above the bed, but you have the matching window in the front.
And this is the hall bath, which was updated a few years ago, done very, very nicely. Granite countertops, travertine squares on the wall, and they're put on that diagonal.
Yep, and then this is going to be the master bedroom. Master bedroom is on the back of the house, so that window above the headboard right there, that's looking into the backyard. And you've got a closet just there, I believe, in the right-hand area. And then this is the closet. And the great thing about this closet, and we thought was extremely interesting, something probably the homeowner has done, is that door right there leads into that pink bedroom. And so there is a nice connection. It's a really great home for a variety of reasons and uses.
A really great backyard on this one. As you can tell, lots of room for jungle gyms, whatever you want out there. Great tree coverage. Fence is in fantastic shape. And you look, perfect shot timing, looking back on the house, you've got this little, what do you call it?
I call it a hammer.
With the hammer where you can back out of the garage and back up and drive out the gate. And they use the automatic gate on this one as well. So I wanted to talk about this neighborhood just a minute, and the Sparkman Club part of it. So Sparkman Club is a neighborhood community club that was created back in the 1950s. And this is the neighborhood that is allowed to belong to it. It's only got dues of about $500 a year, and there is a tremendous amount of activities that are provided through this. You have tennis courts, you've got these 2 pools, there are a lot of organized activities, and you are right off of Royal Park.
Yep.
And Royal Park is just amazing to me. The North Haven Trail runs right through it. You've got all of this outdoor, well-maintained space. Royal Park has bike repair stations in it that are provided as part of the park. Yeah, it's really, really cool.
And I know this could be a question. So what if you don't live in that geographic area that was on the previous slide? Can you still join them if you don't live in it?
No, it is specifically for that neighborhood, and that's it.
And that's a great draw for property values and for homeowners that really want to live in this area. Again, we've got homeowners that they've moved from one house to another in Sparkman Club.
And 3641 Regent is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage built in 1956, a little over 1,700 square feet, and it is priced at $485,000, which is $275 a square foot.
Great home. Thank you, Aaron Hammonds, for letting us feature this home. And if you want more information, again, I always say, check out the comments. You can get a link to it, see all the pictures. If you want to see it, let us know. We'd love to make that happen.
And with that, we'll be right back.
There are lots of ways to keep up with us. Visit and like our Facebook page to watch us live and get updates about future show topics. Also, visit our Instagram account where you can see the latest homes we have for sale. You can also check out our website at updikepugh.com where you can create customized searches of active and sold homes that you may find of interest. If you'd like to know how much your home is worth, visit homeprice.fyi and you can get a price instantly. Just enter your address and a couple of other pieces of information and we will email you a price. If you are on the go and podcasts are better for you, our second segments are available on iTunes and Spotify. Last of all, you can reach out to us by phone or text at 214-377-2223.
And welcome back to our second segment, episode 136 of Sold with Updike Pugh. And today we have Jeremy Radcliffe with SWBC Mortgage with us again. You know, Jeremy's one of our preferred vendors. We've known him for a really long time. Constantly have our buyer clients that will say they did an amazing job.
Absolutely. He is so confident, and we are so confident in the work that he does, that we actually invite him to our annual Christmas party for our clients, and he shows up and everybody loves him. So he does a good job knowing that he's going to be there. So it's a great thing.
So Jeremy, welcome.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on. It's great to see you guys. And thanks for informing me about Fudge Day. I had no idea. So just another excuse to get off the sugar.
Right.
Get off the sugar.
Get off the whole 30 back on sugar.
Right. Why not? Great to see y'all. Well, is the market as crazy as everyone's saying, or?
It is from it. I say yes and no. It's a yes in many cases, and then some neighborhoods are still reasonable.
I think that if we had more inventory, that it would be much easier on everybody. I just feel like right now it just needs that.
Well, it seems like,
out.
correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like some people are like, well, if we don't know if we can find something, should we list or not? And so that seems to be kind of the horse in the cart scenario.
So. It is chicken and egg.
Yeah, we've had, I'm just going to say several because I don't really know the number off the top of my head, but we've had several clients this year or in the last 6 months, let's say, that have made the decision to sell their home and go into a rental property or something because they feel like now's the time for them to cash out of it. And
yeah, I don't doubt it at all. I mean, it's a good time to sell if you're looking to list.
Yeah, if people that we sold houses to 7 or 8 years ago think we are such heroes today.
You guys are. There's no doubt. That's great. Well, tell me, I know we've got some stuff to chat through. Do you guys want me to get started on this?
Yeah, go right ahead.
I think the topic was, how do we kind of how do we make our offer look best, or how do you make your offer look best with sellers? And it's an interesting topic because I'll have people call me on a regular basis, say, hey Jeremy, what do you recommend? And I'm always trying to do this in coordination with their agent. And a couple things that we've talked about recently was, the main key point that, and I can't stress this enough, is really getting a good idea about your qualifications. So knowing exactly what you can do around your qualification and what you can qualify for. And that has a few different kind of ideas around it. And I'd say that first idea, I don't know if you guys can see the slide, but that first idea is really getting a good idea of what is your budget and what are the contingencies in case there is maybe a lower appraisal, or maybe you get into a situation where there's competitive bidding. And basically what that means is, hey, if you get in and you found the house that you loved, you want an idea, and as you're working with your lender, say, hey, what are we really max at that price that we're offering, or what would happen, or what would our payment look like if the appraisal came in low? And that's one of the things we try to do is we'll show, clients who are potentially looking at making an offer above list or something, we'll show them and say, hey, if the appraisal came in lower, here's what that would do to your loan to value. You've got a couple of different options on how you could structure the loan in that scenario. And I think it's really allowed people to have a better idea of going into, not waiting to the last minute, when there's not a lot of time in terms of figuring out how to structure a deal, but they've already gone in knowing, hey, if it appraises at this, or if it appraises at this, here's what we can get, and here's what our payments will look like, and we can still make this work. And in some cases, bringing very similar, the same amount of money to closing.
And I think you're
Go ahead.
I think you're really smart to run those scenarios with people because when we weren't in as competitive of a market, buyers didn't really have to worry about that. But by you doing that, it just puts all the information out there, and there's no surprise.
Correct. And it's also a timing issue, because what you don't want to do, sometimes people just are like, hey, you know what, I'm stressed out. This isn't going to work. It's not worth trying to get in. But if we can show them on the front end, hey, assuming you're listing, you're making an offer over list, let's just say, and it appraises, here's what that could look like. If it doesn't appraise, maybe it comes in a little bit low. this is what it does to your loan to value. And oftentimes they're quite surprised that it doesn't change the payment that much, or they can adjust their cash to close a little bit. And it's been very helpful. I think that's a really key point. Someone having a really good idea going in exactly what their options are.
And with interest rates still being so low, I know that, that we've seen them smidge up just a bit in the past few weeks, but are we, what, a 3.5? Are we at a 4? I mean,
well, they've dropped in terms of rates right now. So optimal credit, if you're doing 20% down, we're seeing right around 3% right now.
Wow.
so, when you're talking about a $10,000 difference in a payment at 3%, even on a
Correct.
15-year
It's not
term,
that
it's
much money.
not that much money.
Or adding mortgage insurance. Let's say the value comes in a little bit low, and now you bump into that 85% loan to value. That mortgage insurance is so little on optimal credit, and you're not going to carry it for very long.
Yeah.
It might save you some cash at closing. And we've had scenarios where people are like, wow, I didn't think it was going to look like that. And they've been quite surprised. So the other thing I'd say on top of that is just getting a good idea of, can you, the big question is, hey, can I purchase a home before I actually sell my home? And that's something we're looking at oftentimes of, hey, let's first of all get you qualified. We talked about this, so many times. The importance of getting qualified early on, so you kind of know going in, before you start looking, can we qualify without having to try to do a contingent offer? What does that look like? What are our options after we close? Let's say we buy the property that we love, and then we try to go sell our home. What does that do if I were to put a large principal down, payment back towards the mortgage I just got? What does that do to my payment? And there's options about recasting. And so just getting all that information early on really, I think, empowers people to make really great decisions and figuring out if you found the right house right now, could you go for it?
I love
That's
the
what
fact
we
you're
want to
talking
try to get people to do.
I love that you're talking about recast. I think that's so important. I think that that's something that not many people have heard of.
Correct.
And so knowing that is there, and there's not a whole nother set of refinancing fees
Correct.
around the horizon, I think that's a great thing that y'all are offering.
Yeah, and I that's one of my favorite things about what we do as a servicer, seller servicer, is that we can go in and recast those payments. And it seems to really help people out. We've had people do it quite a bit. So.
It's funny because we've heard, when people have had to be competitive with you, when other lenders have had to be competitive with you, and the
Right.
borrower talks to that lender about recast, either one, they don't know what you're talking about, or number two, they don't know who the investor on that loan's going to be ultimately. So they
Correct.
can't really, commit to you that you're going to be able to do
Correct.
that.
I'll say most lenders will allow for a recasting, but if I were a loan officer and I didn't know that we could recast, I'd be a little hesitant saying, giving a definitive. But yes, the recasting is a big deal because it allows you to basically, if you do that large principal payment, it allows you to basically re-amortize the loan off the new loan balance, so your payments go down in most scenarios. So.
And really it ultimately puts the borrower where they wanted to be.
Absolutely.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. And in some cases, maybe they carried mortgage insurance initially for just a little bit, but eventually that's going to trail off. And, once they get that payment down, they might have to carry that for 12 or 24 months. So I think it's a great way to set it up.
What else?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, what else are your recommendations in terms
So
of?
the other thing is, we've talked about this too, is getting credit approved before executing a contract. I think that's a really, depending on, we do this often, and we've tried to do this carte blanche for all of y'all's clients, just to get you guys kind of in the best foot forward. So client comes in, instead of just doing an approval, we're now moving those guys to a full credit underwrite, which basically means an underwriters have their eyes on it. And what I like about that, it allows you to either shorten or completely eliminate the credit approval part on a financing contingency. I don't know if many of your clients seen it, but there's two parts to that financing contingency, one being credit approval and the other one being property approval. And when you do that credit approval, it allows you to completely eliminate or reduce that credit qualification. So it just makes for a stronger offer, and it's almost like making for a cash offer. And then that along with appraisal waivers, which we'll talk about here in a moment, have definitely made sellers feel more confident.
We've used that and been able to, by removing the credit approval contingency, made our offer look much stronger.
Absolutely.
Correct.
And it's very interesting, kind of kicking off on those appraisals. Just in the last week, we have had 2 homes that we had both one represent the buyer, one represent the seller, and appraisals have come in, and we're talking like it was questionable. on both of them. So that's a good sign for you guys.
Right. Well, and that would be the other kind of, so now you have a good idea of what's going on your qualification. Then it's, what I like to say is it's really, this is what I love about working with you guys, is getting an idea of what are the seller's pain points. And when you can kind of hit to know and say, okay, Jeff Weston, tell me, what do you feel like is important to these sellers? And I kind of break this down in 4 main points that I would say. Obviously, there's the interest of financial gain. You know, what is someone, or is it just, are they financially motivated? In some cases, it's less financial, and it's more just, hey, we're looking for assurance that we know we're going to close. We feel like we're listing an appropriate price. We don't want to have any gotchas last minute. The other one being flexibility. You'll see this all the time, especially in a heavy seller's market where someone's looking for another place to buy. They say, you know what, we need just some additional flexibility from the buyer. And the last one we'll talk a little bit about is the sentimentality. Some of these people, if you think about it, they've lived in their house for years, and there's just a lot of emotion about having a house, and in some cases they want to feel like the person they're going to sell their house to is going to take care of it and do a good job of that. So in terms of that financial gain, you know, there's a couple of ideas that you can do. If you want to go to that next slide, you know, one thing that we're starting to see a lot more is that buyers are willing to pay for title policies. This used to be kind of a standard. I would say it's fairly common in Texas for a seller to agree to pay the title policy, which is that insurance coverage on the property. Just verifying that the property you're buying is going to be free and clear. You're not going to have any issues in title. But now we're starting to see buyers be willing to pay that. And that's you know, on a $500,000 purchase, that's a good $2,000 or $3,000 back to the seller, which does make a difference. The other thing that we're starting to see is, as we talked about, is being willing to pay more than list and being able to pay more than list. That's a big deal. And, you know, in a competitive market, you've just got to be prepared. If you love the place, it may be more than what it was originally listed, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't fit the market, or it won't fit the market in just a little bit. The other one that I'm curious about, and I've started to see this a little bit more, had some colleagues talk about this, and it's been worked to their benefit, is the buyer actually agreeing to pay some of the seller related expenses. So the seller has title fees, different things like that. Those are real fees, and it comes down to real dollars back to the seller. So there's some options there. Moving towards the assurance, this is the topic that I think I'm seeing more than just financial. I think the assurance is that sellers want to either reduce or completely remove any contingencies. So we're talking, I'm seeing 3-day option periods. I'm seeing 7 to no time frame on third-party contingencies. So really getting those contingency timeframes down and being able to work in a short amount of time. That's why having guys like y'all who can get in and quickly get inspections scheduled and kind of getting all the pieces into play as quickly as possible allows you to remove some of those contingency timeframes. I'm starting to see really high option fees. I saw one the other day for $1,000. I've seen earnest monies up to $15,000, which, if you think about it, you're putting in a lot of skin in the game, and you're telling the seller, hey, we're really serious, and we're not going to tie up this property for 30 days without you showing that we're really into this. And that seems to be helping and working a lot. The one that people seem to be talking about a lot is appraisal waivers. So kind of quick idea on appraisal waiver, you can do a partial waiver, you could do a complete waiver. The idea being, hey, we're going to go in, execute the contract, assuming that the property is going to sell for or it's going to appraise for what we're paying for it. But if it doesn't, we're willing to still cover that difference, or if there's a delta between the appraised value and the sales price, which, if you think about it, you're a seller, and now you don't have to worry about what the appraiser is doing. And then the other thing on the assurance side is I've had agents just say, you know what, we got an offer from a large bank, I won't say the bank's name, and then they'll see our name or they've worked with our company before. I think just having a good sense that you feel like they can trust the lender and that someone they're going to communicate with, or that lender has history in the area, I think that's made a big difference. So I'll stop there for a minute. Any thoughts on any of those?
Well, I think the last one is probably one of the really important ones, because the working, like one of our transactions right now, we're working with an out-of-state lender, and it's made us extremely nervous about Can they perform? Do they have access to appraisers?
Correct.
We're on the listing side of it, and the buyer, the buyer and buyer's agent came with this lender. And so we really don't have a lot of say over that, but just having your name on an approval letter as opposed to someone that's based in Arizona or Colorado makes a huge difference to realtors.
And you are right, like, even when we made an offer for Megan on that condo, the other agent knew you and knew SWBC and had a good working relationship with you also. That made everything that much easier.
Thanks for saying that. I think that's a really big deal, and it allows, things that we do as lenders too is we'll oftentimes call a listing agent on an offer and just say, hey, I want you to know that we did look at income, we did look at credit, even though the letter says it. We've gone through either credit approval or we've run it, the automated underwriting system. They're not going to have any issues. It'll be a really clean, smooth transaction. That's helped quite a bit for sellers feeling more comfortable about that. On the next slide, a couple of other points. In terms of flexibility, I think one thing that you can do that helps is being able to do quick closes. The biggest bottleneck right now that I see, in terms of underwriting turn times, a lot of the refinance craze has gone out, so underwriting's gotten back more to normal turn times. The biggest bottleneck is getting those appraisals turned. So what we're starting to do is order appraisals early on. If someone's saying, hey, I want to close in 15 days to 25 days, we may go ahead and order an appraisal early on, which allows for a more aggressive close time. The other thing is leasebacks. If you think about a seller's looking, maybe they don't have an existing property that they're ready to buy, or they're out looking, or they needed to make it contingent on the sale. Now they're out there starting to look for properties, and giving them a 60-day leaseback or longer, depending on what type of transaction, opens up some opportunities for them, and that may be really attractive to a seller. The last thing and Jeff and I talked about this a little bit before the show, I've seen it and I'm kind of surprised by it, but I've seen personal letters to the sellers make a difference. Someone saying, hey, we chose your offer because of your letter directed towards the seller. I'm sure there's some, Jeff and I talked about, there's some housing requirements on this, but fair housing, but I think it's an interesting point. I'd love to hear y'all's feedback on that as well.
Well, we've actually talked about it on the show before, where a lot of people have said just writing that letter can make the difference, and it certainly can. We've seen it make the difference. When we're working on the seller side of the transaction, we always give the seller a heads up. Hey, we have a letter from the buyer. Here's the challenge that you might face in it, is making sure that you don't violate any of the fair housing laws.
Which I never even thought about. I think it's such a great point, and it makes total sense. And I'm so glad you brought that up to me. It's interesting just about the fair housing, but having that letter as an option, assuming it's fits within all the ethical areas. We've seen it be the difference in someone getting an offer accepted or not, or maybe it rising to the top of consideration.
Weston did that with one of our buyer clients when we were representing it, and he had the counseling with her beforehand to say, okay, just make sure it's not written where you put the seller in a position to violate fair housing. And I think it did make a difference in her actually getting that property.
It did make a difference on the second round. She didn't get the first executed one, stepped out, and we were able to get in position 2, and the agent said that it was because of that letter that she did select us, because I think at that point it was all the remaining 3 offers were all in the exact same lineup, and so it just kind of worked out for her.
The last thing I'd say on this seller's pain points is I think it's so important why working with agents like yourselves makes such a big difference, because you guys are in communication with listing agents. You're able to kind of get a sense of, hey, what's going on? Like, can you tell us what's important to the sellers? What are they needing specifically? And without good representation, you may try to go in, significantly higher over list price, but that wasn't really what the seller wanted. They may just needed some flexibility or different things.
Absolutely.
I think it's funny that you bring up that long lease back, because we've had 2 that were 160, 145, and 130-day lease back. And before this, typically our lease backs were like
3 days,
weekend,
5 days.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, what is going on? But it is an actual financial component of the contract right now that doesn't have like a dollar financed amount. It is an actual intrinsic cost to a buyer or to a seller that they're.
Well, if you give that if you think about, you give that to a seller for free. So we're seeing free lease backs for 60 days. That's Yeah, that's a real cost that a seller's not having to incur for temporary housing or having to move out or different things like that. It's real money.
And it's also a factor of decreasing stress. And I think at some point,
Correct.
everybody thinks it's about the money, but so many times it's about trying to isolate the stress and either remove it or try to like minimize it as much as you can.
Right, scratch that pain point a little bit.
Yep, exactly right.
Good talk, Jeremy. Loved it.
Great information.
Oh, thank you guys. Thanks for having me on today.
So
Great
if
to see
you,
y'all both.
if any of you have, if you're wanting to refinance, if you're about to buy a house, hopefully it's with us, please reach out to Jeremy. He is by far one of the best lenders we've ever worked with. His team makes it go so smoothly. And, you know, if you want recommendations, referrals of people that have worked with him, we're happy to provide those to you.
Actually, we both have worked with Jeremy on our houses.
That is
so,
true.
We can actually give you that bit of information as well. So, Jeremy,
Thank you guys. I
so
appreciate
much.
it. Always, we love working with your clients. And what we tell your clients all the time is what's unique about Jeff and Weston is they will actually get you under contract where we've seen other people. It's not always the case. So we love that
thank
about
you.
y'all. So
Thank you. Well, Jeremy, thanks for joining us today. We
my
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Jeremy.
So if you want to reach out to Jeremy, his information is going to be down in the contact information below. And
Okay.
if there's
I was just listening along. I was going, go on, tell me more.
so reach out to him. He is a really great lender, a great guy to work with, and just a great human. So reach out to him if you'd like.
Yep. And thanks so much for tuning in. Stay cool out there. And remember, we want to be your realtors for life.